I'm Remy. I'm a musician, songwriter, producer, singer. I do a lot of tutorials and educational content on that, on TikTok and whatnot. But I wanted to start a series on this channel in which I did a bit of an experiment. But I want to start it off by talking about why I want to do this experiment and where it comes from. I've wanted to be an artist my whole life since I was a young Colombian girl who literally wanted to be Shakira. And I didn't want to just make music. I wanted to be an artist and have an artist project and, put out songs under a name that people might like, and make music videos to those songs and perform them. The whole artist shebang. Although I'm finding a lot of joy in other parts of the musical process and I've really come to love music production, I now aspire to do a bunch of other things that aren't necessarily so in the spotlight, so to speak. I still want to be an artist. I still want to have a project that is my own and contribute to the landscape of music through it. I've been a musician most of my life, depending on when you think I started meeting the criteria to call myself one. I really thought that by now I would know who I am as a musician and that being an artist would just be inevitable. And I was wrong. I did start an artist project about, Christ, like 6 years ago. And I put out an EP about 1 year ago, a little over a year ago. And it had like a clear sound, and I'd made this collection of songs that I felt had like a clear sonic message and, themes throughout. And it felt like a solid piece of work. And it felt indicative of me being ready to be an artist. Even though I'd been putting out kind of singles before then, but that was, I think, the first thing that I was like, this is the beginning, I guess. I thought that was proof that I am an artist and that I'm, ready to be one. And I am now finding that it's just proof that I can make an EP. I feel like I have all the technical skills to make an album if I were tasked with doing so. I can write the songs and I can produce them and I can sing, and I think it would be good. I just don't know what I want to make. I've always made pop music, and I love electronic music. I have a lot of electronic influences on my music. I don't think I know who I am as an artist. When I started this sort of artist journey about 6 years ago, I would have all these conversations with people that knew much more about the industry and what it takes, and they would always talk to me as though I didn't have it all figured out, and I guess I found that kind of confusing at the time because I really believed that I did. And they would be like, well, you really need to know your brand, who you are as an artist, and what you're doing. And I was like, I know it, I have it. I might not be able to put it into words, but I have songs. I know what I'm looking for when I write these songs, and I know what I'm trying to give. And I'm now realizing it's not really where I was. I was looking for a specific sound, and I was achieving, to a certain degree, that sound. I might be better at it now. There was something missing, and I'm not sure I know how to put it into words, but it's becoming clearer to me now that there's something I don't know about myself as an artist. I don't know who I want to be. There's all these influences and all this music that I love listening to. I love this idea that there's artists that are, There's artists that are harvesters, and there's artists that are nomads. Basically, the harvesters want to, explore a very narrow part of music and really dig into it and evolve on it. And those are the very niched artists. And then you have the nomads that kind of want to travel the field of what music can be and explore different scenarios. Like Lady Gaga would be an artist that I would consider pretty nomadic. Every project has a completely different set of influences, but there's something at its core that's still very has a strong artist identity. I guess I have a nomadic tendency at the end of the day. I want to explore different things. I can never seem to make my mind up about exactly what it is that I would want to do. I kind of envy the people that have this really narrow sub genre that they want to explore. I don't. I have just a lot of things that I would love to do one day. So I assume I'm in the nomadic category. But I wouldn't know what it is that, connects all of those explorations. if I were to take them on. And I think that's like a bit of a dumb question to be asking myself before I've actually tried to do a bunch of different music. Despite the fact that I've been doing this for so many years, I still don't feel like I've been very good about finishing songs. And I think that's something that just most artists or creatives in the music world struggle with, is just finishing things, because you get so caught up being like, this can be better, this can be perfect, and then eventually you just give up on making it perfect, because obviously no such thing exists, and then things just don't ever come out, and then, you know, you put out one EP over the course of 6 years. I'm a big believer that practice is the key to anything. I do believe that it's that easy and that difficult. People are always looking for like, what is the key that's missing? What's the thing that is going to make me understand this skill? What's going to make me good at this? And it's always, almost always, if not always, just practice and repetition. There's actually this experiment in David Bales and Ted Orland's book, Art and Fear, that they reference, in which a photography professor, for the purposes of the book, it's a pottery professor, but in real life, it was a photography professor, who split the class down the middle and had half the students be graded on quality and the other half be graded on quantity. The half graded on quality, they only had to produce one pot or one photograph over the course of the entire semester, and its quality, whatever grade that one, you know, product got, would be their grade on the entire class. And the other half of the class was graded on quantity, and regardless of how good they were, they just the more photos or pots they made over the course of the semester, the better their grade was. And that was the only criterion. It didn't matter if all of them were trash. They would get a good grade if they'd just done hundreds. And in the end, the group graded on quantity had better work because they'd just actually done it more times, even though the former had time to study the theory behind it and understand what would make it technically perfect. Not having done it a million times shot them in the foot. Ever since I heard that anecdote, it stuck with me, and I am just a firm believer in practice makes perfect, or I mean, not perfect, but practice makes better, which has led me to wanting to do the experiment I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I want to force quantity on myself. I think if I don't quite know who I am as a producer and as an artist, the only way to find that out is through practice. I want to force myself to share one new song every week, which is ridiculously ambitious. There's not a ton of rules for this experiment. I'm going to allow finishing things that I have started. I have, you know, obviously we all have projects ranging from like barely an idea to all but mixed and mastered. I guess if it's like all but mixed and mastered, I probably won't count that because I'm not a mixing engineer, nor do I know how to master. So these will be published on SoundCloud and mixed to the best of my abilities, which isn't a ton. But yeah, the only criterion is that it not be totally done. And as long as I can force myself to finish things and just make a lot of music, that's a win. And hopefully by the end of it, I will be a lot better at producing and have a better understanding of what it is that I want to do as an artist. I could, of course, do this experiment in private and work in silence. And in hindsight, I guess I kind of wish I had. But the truth is, I'm 6 years in to this thing. And yes, I want to kind of explore this aspect of my artistry and skill set as a producer. But there's the other side of it that I do want to improve on is social media. As you can see, I'm maybe not the best at being on a camera yet. That's also something I want to practice, both because social media is obviously one of the biggest streams of revenue left for artists. So if I want to be an artist, I should probably get used to this sort of thing anyways, but also because I have this theory that social media can kind of help you distill your personality. But I think there's just like so many different versions of ourselves that we exhibit in different contexts. You're a different person at work than you are at home, than you are with your friends. And I think social media being kind of who you are to everyone can be like a tool to understand all these different aspects of yourself, and especially as an artist, that hopes to have an audience one day. It would probably be good to like work through all those different aspects and gain practice talking to everyone and anyone. I think who you are is ultimately who you continue to perform over and over again. And I think if I just perform over and over again for you guys, I will get better at that performance. And I don't say performance to mean inauthentic by any means. I say it as like it's a practice, and vis-a-vis practice makes perfect. I'd like to try that. So the two aspects of this experiment: one, a song a week that I will post on SoundCloud, and two, a video on YouTube showing either the actual process of me doing it. Hopefully most of them are that, but if it's something I have made a lot of progress on before I started the experiment, or I just made it primarily off camera, I'll do a video breaking down all of the tracks and everything that goes into the production. So any of you watching that may want to learn how I make tracks and the sort of technical stuff that goes into it, you can follow along and we can learn together. So that's it. I'll hopefully see you soon. Or rather, you'll see me soon with the first video of the breakdown of the first song, and hopefully I can keep it up. I know that one a week is like kind of crazy ambitious, but this is kind of the only thing I care about right now is succeeding at this. So hopefully that's enough existential dread to get me to actually do it. And if not, hopefully this video goes viral so I have no choice but to do it, lest I be terribly embarrassed by my own past words. So I guess please like this video so that I can feel pressured into keeping up with this little experiment, and follow if you are so inclined. Anyways, I think that's it. See you around, I guess.